Hey, everybody, and welcome to the ACE Football Academy. Coach Hamilton alongside Coach Dunham, as always. Friday Footy Talk for June the 6th. Happy June, Coach. Happy summer, Coach Hamilton. So we are here to discuss a video that I don't know if I would call it as having gone viral yet, but I think it will as it starts to get played more and more and more. If you have not seen the video, I would recommend that you press pause on the podcast, pull up our X, ACE_football, pull up our Twitter, ACE Football Academy, and watch the video that we are going to be debating, or not debating, but discussing this evening. Because, Coach, it is a rather intense one.
It's one of those things where you watch and you're like, did that really just happen? It really kind of throws you for a loop because we depend on the adults standing next to our kids to act appropriately. And you and I as coaches, we've gotten upset at times at the ref, a player on the field, or another coach. We've gotten upset at times. But when you put your hands on a child, it changes everything. It's more than just one person's life that's about to be affected here.
Yeah. So, real quick breakdown. Weirdly enough, oddly enough, this is a two local clubs to us. We have played them both. You and I have. We're gonna leave names and things like that out. Absolutely. I would assume. Yeah. But they are two Kentucky clubs, and there's a ball, kind of a cross switched ball. It's not a cross because they're more towards midfield. That is played. You got a winger running for it. You have a defender running for it, and the defender kind of takes out the winger, right? And you and I are both in agreement that it was a foul. Yeah. When you watch the video, you and I are both in agreement that it was a yellow card. We are not, and I want to make sure that everybody is aware of that. We are not saying that it was a clean play or anything like that. But the player goes down. I mean, and then there's just certain things that we catch as coaches that I want to point out in this video. The referee hits his whistle long, loud, and hard the second it happens. Almost like he was anticipating the contact, right? He knew it was coming. So it wasn't like he had to put his whistle in his mouth and as soon as the contact is made, the official has hit his whistle and called the foul. The fouled player goes down, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But that player goes down. The player who fouled her kind of continues his run because that's how his momentum was taking him. And coach, the opposing team's coach, steps onto the field. And kind of I don't think he throws a punch, but he kind of two-hand in his face shoves this kid to the ground.
And I think, and you give me your perspective of this, because the kid's momentum was going towards the sideline, you could say that the ref was stepping onto the field to make an argument with the ref. I don't think that will happen at all. He beelined to that child to make a point of, and it's our understanding that the coach, that's his daughter, that was just fouled.
So let's continue to set it up.
And I think that drives into part of the situation here.
So let's kind of set this up before we dive into what we think should now be done now that the incident is over. What we think U.S. Soccer will do, and then Coach, we have time. I thought we would even spend some time on how you and I would handle that situation if we were on the sideline. So. This is a U13 boys. I guess I should preface this with everything that I'm giving you has just come from some research that Dunham and I have done. I can't tell you that it is 100% factual, but we like our sources. We feel pretty good that most of what we're going to give you is factual. The player in question is a girl who is playing on the U13 boys team, and Coach, you and I, and this is not correct, but you and I talked off camera how that is already for the opposing team going to cause some players are going to back off of her a little bit, right? but other players are going to try to intimidate her and going to try to bully her around and push her around and ding her around and just see how she reacts. So I think that plays into it.
Well, and to add into that, if she was a decent player, there are guys who are absolutely going to enforce their will on her, saying, absolutely. I'm bigger, I'm stronger.
Yep.
You beat me once, but you're not going to do it again type of mentality.
Absolutely. We've also gathered that, as you just mentioned, the coach of the offending coach is not only the president of the club, but is also this player's father. So all those things are kind of going to go into what we're going to talk about as we dive into this episode, Coach. I'll just start with the very basic. Again, Dunham and I are not claiming that that wasn't a foul. We both claim it's a foul. We both think it's a card infraction.
Absolutely.
But before we get to the individual actions, I love this question that you posed to me. That happens. We don't know where the game was in the match, right? Let's say it's right before halftime or right after halftime. Is the match over?
Because of the incident?
Because of the incident.
Well, the short answer, yes. Because that is a criminal offense now.
Yeah.
I think we watched some comments on some social media, people giving their responses on video. And the question was, it may be an assault. No, that is an assault.
Yeah, absolutely.
He put his hands on the child, threw the kid to the ground, or shoved him to the ground, however you want to, whatever language you want to use. He forced that kid to the ground. That is physical assault
on a minor.
To a minor.
Yeah.
That is a criminal action that the coach should be, number one, arrested.
Yep.
He should be fired as president and banned from any sideline, coach or parent, for a lengthy amount of time.
Yeah.
I don't know how all the laws go, how that's going to work, but the game is over.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off there.
You're good, go.
It's not just the player that got pushed down and the coach whose lives are going to change from that.
Right.
The other team's coach, the referee, the players in the immediate vicinity of that, the player that created the foul there, the other coach that was on the sideline with the coach that committed the assault. There are lives that just got fixated and adjusted. They're going to remember that moment for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to give a few kudos. First of all, the referee handled it really, really well. Sounds like off-camera things you don't see in the video. There was a state trooper on site who was able to prevent parents from coming onto the field. So thank goodness for that.
Absolutely.
Because that would have been ugly. But the referee immediately, because as you know, and you and I will get into this in a minute, the victim's coach came sprinting across the field as well, right? Mm-hmm. And the two coaches do kind of make contact, but it is very brief and it's kind of a shove. And then the referee is there and in between them. So kudos to the official on that match. I thought he did a really nice job. But yeah, to go back to the original question, it's absolutely suspended, right? I've suspended matches, or I have left a match before for much less than what that was.
Yeah.
So that match is suspended. You let Kentucky Youth Soccer, you let KSSL or KPL or whatever league they're in. That's now their problem. But I do want to give kudos to the official. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I hope, and what probably should have happened is the second that state trooper got things under control in the fans, he should have walked over to that coach and said, "Come on, man, you got to come with me."
Yeah.
Because you're right. There's no other way around it. It's assault. So, Coach, let's kind of get into a couple of actions that you and I noticed on the field. Again, what I'm going to get into now is a little bit of hearsay. We don't know if these are true, but apparently the coach that performed the action has been let go of a club previously for harassment and for things of that nature. So it doesn't sound like this is a one-off situation where you can just say, I completely lost my head and I will take whatever punishment you give me. This has now become a trend with this guy, right? And so I think that has to play into your consequences, your punishment, right? And I think you're right. He should never be on a coaching sideline ever again in any sport, in any capacity. He shouldn't be a team manager. He shouldn't be an assistant. He shouldn't be a referee. He shouldn't be a president of a club. He should have zero responsibility when it comes to youth soccer or youth sports.
Well, yeah, and to add to that, I also feel like part of the punishment should be a ban from the parent sideline. I mean, that is his kid that's playing on the field.
Agreed.
He should not be permitted to be, you could say, 500 yards or a mile away from. He should not be near any fields and not be allowed to watch his own kid play for a lengthy amount of time.
Agreed.
Yeah, there's so many, and I like you put out the kudos on there.
Yeah.
Because I agree, the referee did a fantastic job. And what we don't see on the camera is the trooper that's on there. Imagine if that trooper wasn't there.
Yeah.
We see so many videos of
melee
parents coming on attacking the refs, or the coaches going at it, or players going at it, and then the coaches getting into it, and the parents joining into it. That absolutely could have turned into one of those events that you watch and just say, what are we doing here?
Absolutely.
They're 12 years old. And because of one chippy little foul, that's where we're going to take this to.
Well, and so with that punishment, I want to bring up a couple points as our listeners watch the video that I just want to point out. And the biggest one, outside of the kudos that we just gave, the biggest one is the opposing coach. If you listen to it on sound, I should have said this off at the top of the broadcast. Make sure there's no children around, because as you can imagine, in this moment, there are some not suitable for work words being thrown around. And the opposing coach does come onto the field as you would expect, and he says, "You can't ever put your hand on a child." To which the coach that performed the action says, he can't keep doing that, or something. Like, never says, I screwed up. No, goes to defend himself and defend his actions. You hope that's one of those things where this morning or Monday morning or whenever this match was, he woke up and thought, crap, I have screwed up. Right?
Well, just like you said, he interacted with the child and then continued walking over towards the other coach where they interacted with each other. Then he walked off from that coach, and his own assistant coach interacted with him because he's trying to push him away. There's clearly some emotional issues with this guy where I'm not just worried about him being around youth sports. What else has gone on with this gentleman to be that triggered by that moment?
And, Coach, for me, you know what he never does in the whole video clip?
Say it, Coach, because I know where you're going.
He never once goes and checks on his daughter.
Didn't even look in the direction.
Yeah, doesn't even walk over to her, and in passing, where he could say, "Oh no, I said it as I walked by her," because he never goes near her. She is on the ground. Can't really tell if she's hurt or just kind of like, what the hell just happened, right? Or what is happening and right in front of me. But he never, and according to reports, this is his daughter that he is quote unquote defending. But then he never goes to check on her? You gotta be kidding me. But, so Coach, that's kind of our take. So let's go.
Well, let me throw something back at you.
Sure.
Okay. And we're always talking off camera, and we should just have cameras rolling as soon as I walk in the door. Let's assume you're the coach of the player that created the foul. So you're the pink team's coach.
Okay.
And obviously, as coaches, we see our players do, let's say, dumb fouls. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, why?
Right.
But you don't say it out loud.
Right.
Your response is, hey, we've got to be smarter than this.
Right.
Hey, we're already up. We don't need to give them free kicks. You know, we say things to kind of reel things down a little bit to relieve some tension if we have that emotional capacity.
Yeah.
if you're the pink team coach, are you reacting the same way? Or are you doing something a little bit differently?
I think everybody who knows me would say that I am not a very combative guy. But, and I'm sure every coach feels this way. I love my teams and my girls with everything I have. And if I saw an opposing coach do that to one of my players, at minimum, I think I'm doing exactly what the coach on the film does. I hope that by the time I got there, I would have mindfully been able to, okay, let's not do anything super stupid here, because you're right, because I told you off the camera, I would have a hard time not coming in swinging at this coach, right? But you kind of said, yeah, I get that, but now all of a sudden I'm in trouble.
Now there's 2 arrests happening.
Yeah. You know, now all of a sudden I'm in trouble. So it is one of those moments that, based on my personality, I want to tell myself that I would, because what I think, again, maybe not kudos, but I think the opposing coach did everything he should have did. He got to the scene, he confronted the coach, and then the referee was there, right? But I don't know. I'm not sure I could have.
See, the crazy thing is, and I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And as you're explaining this, the thing that popped in my head is, man, there's no way any of us would really know how we would react to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've seen parents get into it. We've seen 2 coaches get into it. That's a different story. You can kind of get in between them. Other people help out. Yeah. Good moms, good dads stepping in saying, hey, we need to walk away.
We're okay.
But we're talking about a very large grown man throwing a child to the ground who's literally less than half his size.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And what, a third of his age, maybe?
This is truly a situation of flight or fright.
Yeah.
Either you're terrified of that guy going on a rampage, or you're going after him to put him to the ground to end the situation.
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from of, I'd want to go in swinging. Well, I get that 1,000%. Because what else is he going to do?
Right.
Is he coming after me now to start assaulting me?
Exactly. And as we mentioned, he's not worried about the injury.
Not at all.
He is MF for this and all, you'll hear it on the video. The only foul language you hear is coming from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a wild turn of events, Coach. Here's a question we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
And I want to hit it from both sides. So you threw that one at me. I'm going to throw this one at you.
Yeah. Okay.
So the game ends, right? And let's just assume that the opposing coach was escorted out, right? Okay. Because we both feel very strongly that that's what should have happened. We do not know if that is what happened, but we feel very strongly that that's what should have happened. You're the assistant. Now your boys are in front of you. What do you say?
Oh. Assuming I'm the reasonable one.
Yeah.
I'm bringing all the kids in. Coach, I might even bring my parents in.
Agreed. I was just going to
say mandatory meeting
now.
Right now.
Yep.
And the conversation is, no one right here did anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that this went down.
Yep.
Even
the player who made the foul didn't do anything wrong. It is a hard foul. And
sure,
you could argue that it's pretty clear he's not trying to make a play on the ball, but that happens every match.
It was shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah, it happens every match.
It does.
So back to your point, no one here, even Johnny, who created the contact, he didn't do anything wrong either.
Absolutely. And I might even point that out during that meeting and say, hey, Johnny, I know you feel like you were a big part of this. I want you to know this has nothing to do with you. Yeah. The ref did his job. The other coach was doing his thing. Whatever, we're going to say his name's Mike. Yeah. Mike was out of line, and I'm assuming the club and Kentucky Youth Soccer are going to handle the business. Yeah. Everyone needs to go home, hug your kids, and you will hear from me at another time.
Yeah.
and go home. And that is the end.
Yeah, I agree.
We don't need long speeches. I don't need to sit there and lecture everybody.
And then even more importantly to what you just said, I'm not going to field questions.
Oh,
right? No, I'm going home. I'm grabbing my thing and I'm going to my truck, and you will hear from me later, whether it's that night or the next morning. But you will hear from me later.
Yeah.
What about the coach for the victimized team? So now this game is over. How do you handle that? Because also, we're going to assume that you're the level-headed adult in this situation. So you don't want to bring your boys over and go, that guy's an idiot. Don't ever be like him. Because, right, you don't want to start pointing fingers. Now, everybody knows he screwed up. Yeah. But you also don't want to get everybody riled up at him and their team. And that's just a dirty team. And that's how they are. All those types of things. So how do you address it from the other side on the sideline?
That's probably a little more touchy.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Because I don't have to answer to what just happened.
Right.
So again, I might be bringing my parents over again, and we're having a full team meeting and kind of go, I apologize for my language, but I hope you all understand what I'm trying to defend the kids here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to explain anything, but I'm sorry that happened. We're going to focus on this with the club on how to handle the situation, and you guys will hear from me again. Again, this is not another situation where you sit there and lecture everybody.
Right.
Get them in their cars and going home.
Yes, 100%.
Let the parents
get them going home.
Handle their child their way.
Yeah.
Maybe their kid has already dealt with seeing things like this or don't know how to handle this. That is a parent's responsibility. Hopefully it's their responsibility that they'll handle it. But get them out of there, into their parents' hands, on the road, and you can go home and handle your situation.
Okay, so let's continue with this line of questioning. I think it's fun. I agree with everything you said there, right? Both sides. It needs to be short, sweet, and to the point. And I'm not fielding any questions right now because I don't know anything more than what you all know, right? So we're not going to sit here and gossip, so to speak, about the situation.
Let me throw something back at you. You've officiated for many years.
Yeah.
Let's say you're the ref.
Yeah.
You've done everything that we saw in the video. He prevented the two refs or two coaches from assaulting each other, blew the whistle, did everything you want a referee to do.
Yeah.
When that video cuts off, we see both coaches kind of go in their opposite directions.
Mm-hmm.
What are your steps from that moment to the moment you're in your car going home?
So first, that I am canceling. The match is over, right? The match is over.
Got to be over.
And even if old Mike, as you mentioned, even if Mike is arrested or Mike is given a red card, which at minimum that's what he got, right? And he's been asked to leave. You can't put those players back on that field.
No.
So I call head coach from Pink Team. I call assistant coach because the first thing I do is before I call anybody, I go and I give the red card, right? So everybody knows he's done.
Yeah.
Right? And probably don't get close. I probably do it from, midfield. I just hold it up at him, right? I'm not going to go and get in his face. And then you bring head coach, you bring assistant coach to the line or to the door or to the
midfield.
Thank you. Line, door, midfield, wherever we meet. And you say, hey guys, I'm sure you're not surprised, but I am ending this match. I will write up my report, because that's what you have to do for a red card. At minimum, you have to write a report, right? And then you just say, I will write my report. Both of you will be CC'd in the email. I'm probably going to ask the assistant for his information because you never know who's on the, it may not be Mike. Mike may be the only one listed on that team, right?
Yeah, right.
So you have that conversation with the two coaches and you say, go talk to your teams, give me a second. And then again, luckily the state trooper is there, right? So you go over to him. Hopefully he's still there. Hopefully he's got other people there, right?
Surely.
And you say, hey, I'm going to start sending these teams off. And then I think you have to send them off one at a time. You go over to the opposing team and you say, hey, all of you all need to go to your car.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody. And maybe I'm not doing that as the official. Maybe I'm asking the cop to do that, right? Hey, can you go and send this group to their car?
Yeah.
You let them get to their car. You hold everybody from the other team back. They get in, they pull out, and then you send the other team. Because then at that point, once everybody's off the field, it's no longer my responsibility, right? So if Johnny hangs out for Mike or for Terry in the parking lot because they want to have some words, that's no longer my responsibility.
Very true.
So I think that's how I would handle that as the official. Again, as you mentioned, I think he was really, really good in everything he did.
Absolutely solid. So I'm going to end this episode. Well, not really end it, but I'm going to get kind of the final area that I feel needs to be addressed here, and that's as the parent. Let's be honest here, and you already mentioned this about the trooper preventing.
Yeah.
If that was my kid that got trucked by an adult, what parent, what dad, and there are a lot of moms that would be sprinting across that field to get in that guy's face.
Shout out Lindsey Paulson.
Could you imagine being that kid's parent?
No.
And again, it's a flight or fright situation of, oh my God, I got to get my kid out of here. Or I'm going to be up in that guy's grill, letting him know how I feel about this. So the question that I want to end with is, when the parents take their kids and they're in the car, how am I handling that situation? I'm probably turning to my kid and say, how you feeling?
Yeah, 100%.
Tell me how you're feeling.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you 5 minutes
to just go.
And you are free to say whatever you need to get off your chest.
And this is probably on both teams, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
This is probably on both teams.
1,000%. And he may not say anything. He may say, I don't know, Dad. I don't know how to feel about that.
Right.
Or he may just start spewing like, that guy was out of mind, or what was this all about?
Yeah.
That's the most insane thing I've ever seen. And he needs to get that moment to get that off his chest.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need to be afraid to think that he can't say, I'm scared.
Right.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
Dad, I wanted to run for my life. Or I want to kiss that guy on the shin or something.
Yeah.
They need a moment to realize that they're human as well.
Yeah.
And just let it rip. If they go more than 5 minutes, let them rip.
Yeah.
And say, all right, let's go get some food and go home.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you move on.
And I may even the next day or 2 days later, I may even say, hey man, let's
sit down and have a conversation.
Let's revisit what we saw, what happened. Especially those two players that were personally involved, right? Of course, daughter having a conversation with dad, that'd be interesting to sit on.
I think we both feel for the daughter because it was her. If it's true, her dad not only caused a scene, but she'd been humiliated. And not even because of the foul. That's just a soccer foul. Her dad humiliated her on that field. How do you recover from that? Hopefully the mom, God, I hope the mom said, honey, I am sorry that happened. We are going to find a way to get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess now we will end the episode. I think, again, we are not, and I just want to be clear because I don't want people to think we're defending the foul or anything like that, because we're not. It was a foul, and it was probably a yellow card foul. But it wasn't, I didn't think it was egregious. They didn't hit her from behind. They didn't come at her ankles. You just kind of, ran over ultimately, right? So it is a foul, but as coaches, not even coaches, as adults, as people, we have to have a better control of our emotions, have to have a better control of how we handle things, or, as you and I both agree, in this guy's case, we're going to be spending the night in jail.
Don't get me started how I feel about all that. He should be in jail.
Coach Dunham, Coach Hamilton, this is the Friday Footy Talk with the Ace Football Academy. Go kick some ace.